Welcome to Moe's Paisley Penny Arcade. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, and welcome to the Paisley Penny Arcade. I'm Mo. And you are you, and I'm glad you're you. I'm glad to be Mo. And I hope you're doing well. Today is Wednesday, the 18th of March. And it's another Wednesday. And so I'm here, and thank you for being here, whether it be now, live, or in the future. In the chat room, we've got Renee's in there and Pamela's in there. Happy new moon. Exactly. It is a new moon. And checking in, are you, Pamela, to see, hope I'm doing well. I am doing well. Thank you. And Renee says, happy new moon. And in new moon it is. Exactly. Well, it was a little earlier, or maybe it's a little later. I haven't checked the time. I used to do that. I used to set my watch to go beep, beep, beep exactly at the moment. But you get older and you begin to say, does it matter that much? Not so much. It can sometimes, it can, but other times it just doesn't so much. So, hair everywhere. Got a lot of hair lately. Yeah, which is fine. I like hair. I don't have much of it up here, but so what? Got it other places, and that's all that matters. And you remember that. I didn't mean to point, but welcome. God, it's so strange. So strange. The world. Let's forget about the world a little bit. We may touch on it in today's subject, but I was reminded this week of how insignificant people can make you feel. I felt pretty insignificant this week. Someone said something to me, and I thought, I guess I don't feel like I really matter that much. And maybe I don't. You'd like to feel like you matter a little bit, but as you get older, and I'm getting older, there's just no doubt about that. And you're out of the oh, hello, Raven. Welcome. Good to see you, Raven. You should come to the chat room. It's really easy to do. Just go to YouTube at Mo Abdelbaki, Moabdelbaki. You can come into the chat room and talk to me. Have a conversation. And Raven, answer your question. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Raven. You think I don't know if I matter or not. It was a comment was kind of made. It's like, and I thought, maybe I don't. So what I did is I was thinking about what to talk about today, and I realized that over the decades, I've gathered little things that I did as a reader that worked. They worked. They worked for me. And maybe they'll work for you. Today I'm going to talk about one of them, and it was a handy little thing. And I'm going to share it. So it may not work for you, but it sure as heck worked for me. I had clients and lots of them. And maybe you have clients too, or maybe you just like to do astrology or do tarot or whatever the case may be, or just like to ask questions. And it's using something that you may or may not have or that you may want to get. Don't worry about it. I mean, it's just easy. I'm going to teach you how I use this. We'll talk about that in just a second. It's really kind of an amazing little technique based on a traditional Tibetan divination system, and it works. At least it worked for me. When I was doing tarot, when I was doing astrology, other things, and it worked. Audra, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. Yeah, we got getting a crowd in there. Nice to see you all. Nice to see you all. I wondered if last week's bit on the thing I did with the Kipper deck probably was confusing because my cards aren't labeled, and it was fun for me. I hope you had some fun. I had a good time. I still can't figure out if the company make playing cards. They're, for me, hard to deal with, so I've kind of given up on them. Eventually, perhaps I will get some cards to the point where they can be printed up again, but it hasn't happened yet. So maybe before I leave this realm, I can get it worked out. Who knows? Who knows? I'm looking for another company as well. You know, you should have a relief pitcher in the bullpen, as they say. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. They're in Hong Kong, and they have lots and lots of people who use them. I used to use them. I used them in the past, and had lots and lots of decks that people. And what I like about them is you don't have to have a minimum number of decks printed. And that someone like you can get the deck printed up if you want to buy it. And it works very well. Thank you, Pamela. I'd love for you to get them. And that way you could order a deck of cards if you wanted to. And that should be the way it goes. And every time I upload the pictures, eventually they delete them. They delete the pictures. I think they do it to save space on their servers, which I can understand. It would be nice if they'd let me know they do that, because people say, "Hey, I tried to buy your cards and no cards were there," or they wouldn't let me or whatever. So I'm trying to figure out if there's another company that will allow you to do that. It's basically print as you can. So I'll get that worked out. I was going to print myself up another deck of the Kipper cards, the psychedelic cards, because I do like them very much. I've got a deck. And I was going to print up a deck of my cartomancy cards, just the playing cards, which are like the two of clubs is Frankenstein's monster, from the movie. And the six of clubs is Santa Claus looking at a sled with a cross in it made out of six clubs, that sort of thing. Like he's looking at it like, what the heck here, that sort of thing. And so those are meanings for me. And so if you have that deck and you kind of learn those cards, you can then use a regular deck of cards for divination and do that. I think those are called conversion decks. Oh, I used to know that. There's a lot of things I used to know. But yeah, so I had a feeling like, like as you get older, that people just don't, it's a strange feeling. I haven't really felt, because I don't feel, except for a little forgetfulness every now and then, I don't feel that much older. But people kind of treat you differently. They see the white in the beard and the less of the hair, and they maybe haven't seen you in a while, and they treat you very differently. Like, oh, I remember you. Didn't you used to be somebody? Didn't you used to teach classes, and now you're just not, you can't do anything? And I don't like that feeling, but there is some of that. And I decided, well, I'm going to just teach some stuff here. Stuff that maybe no one else would ever lay on you. And this is something that I, especially with the world the way it is, as much as you can teach, the better I figure it is. I don't know if anyone's ever going to ask me to teach anything again. So I'll just do my thing here and see what happens, Mala. This is made of Bodhi seeds, and I've had this one for decades. And it was my habit to run these beads, and I restrung them or restrang them or restringing them or whatever they past tense. A few times, and finally I restrangle them. Not restrangled them. That would be horrible. A few times, and did so a few times, and finally it's on some string that I don't think they'll ever get free of. And these are Tibetan, and I like them. And you see, here's the guru bead. And what I used to do was, as I was doing readings, I would run them, and in my mind, I would hear Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Sometimes very slowly, sometimes very quickly. And of course, in the true tradition, I would go all the way around and get to the guru bead and just turn it around and go back the other direction, never going past the guru bead. Because you don't ever go past your teacher, you know. You don't surpass the teacher. It's just a respect thing. And so no matter what sort of mala I use, to this day, it doesn't matter what tradition it is, I never go past that big bead. It's kind of funny that way. So you can see these are kind of not in the best shape, you know, but it's old. It's old, just like I am. It's just old as can be. What are you going to do? You know? So anyway, what I would do is, and I was able to listen, but I would hear these echoes of the mantra going. And I am not a Tibetan Buddhist. I'm not a Buddha. I like Buddhism. I like the basic philosophy is very calming and quite reassuring. But what I did is I also learned a couple of Tibetan forms of divination, which are called, incidentally and coincidentally, Mo, and spelled M-O. Like I said, pure coincidence. And there is one form with dice, known as Mo, and the dice are used, and then there are 6 die. Well, it's one die with 6 sides, and there is a series of syllables, Om Arapa, well, not Om, but Arapashanadi. And you see Manjushri, who's a deity, and whom you see yellow-skinned with a flaming sword, holding a blue lotus behind his ear. And you see this, and then you repeat a mantra, Om Arapashanadi, Om Arapashanadi, Om Arapashanadi, and then Om Yardharma Hetu Prabhavatunte Kin Ta Ta Gato Hayawata Tekin Shayaramota Iram Mahi Mahashrama. I screwed it up, but I know it, and I would repeat this, and I learned that the tradition. Maybe someday I'll talk about that, because it's really quite a fascinating system. But you should be more invested in it than I am to do it. It works. It's very, but it's very introspective, and it tells you things. And I do tarot mainly. That's my main, and I Ching, a lot of I Ching, especially lately with the dragon beads that I've been using a lot. I love these dragon beads. They're so incredible. I've been using them a lot. I just made a set. They're not quite done. They're almost done. Out of rat tail. Not real rat tails. That would be horrifying. The cord and knots. Really nice knots. Chinese button knots, or crown knots, they're called sometimes. And I'll be able to wear it, because this is too small, and if I were to try to double this, why, it would explode into a million pieces. So, and if it'll be done, it should be done by next week. And I'm going to make a big one like that just because I haven't tied knots in a long time, and I'm finding it quite therapeutic rather than just sitting there, stupidly looking at my pad all night going, this is good. I'm doing something and finding my mind really does kind of work. I'm going to make a bigger one and then maybe do a session about that. Oh, Raven, of course you would be into Buddhism as well. Yeah. And yes, Raven, your question on openings. Let's call them openings. I like that. Yeah, sure. Things like that happen all the time. In my house, we had tens of thousands of dollars worth of plumbing that had to be done in a short period of time. Yeah, so things like that do happen. We're talking about rifts, I think. Is rift a good word, Raven? Is that a good word that open up and can cause havoc and chaos? Yeah, I don't know. We were just discussing something. She brought something up, and I thought, yeah, things like that happen, but for another time. So there is also a method of Mo using a mala, and it's a really kind of an interesting system. And here is basically how it works. It's relatively simple. What it has to do with is, so what you're doing is you're running your mala, and you will. There are many different ways that Tibetan Buddhists will waves of chaos. That's a good way to put it. Will use. For example, here is a Tibetan prayer wheel. I love the idea of mechanical prayer. And you're thinking, prayer? How is this prayer? Well, I have another one that's not in this room. A prayer wheel. I've got one over here on my table that you spin as you go by, and it has the prayer Om Mani Padme Hum on the outside. Om Mani Padme Hum. Hail to the jewel of the lotus. Now, in here, if I were to take the top off, but it's a little finicky to get back on. Inside of here, on a piece of paper, a very long piece of paper, 10,000 times is written the prayer in Tibetan script, Om Mani Padme Hum. So every time I spin this, yes, every time I spin it, Om Mani Padme Hum. Now, a very nice gentleman, wonderful guy, got me this from Nepal. Listen to that. And it's in here like 100,000 times or 10,000. I don't know how long. But it's got bearings. Om Mani Padme Hum. Every time I spin this, and it's very quiet, you see. Isn't that nice? And it's very soothing. They make, it was very nice of him to bring me this back from Nepal. Nice guy. And to think of me this way. My son here. Up you go. Yeah, don't like you falling over. So, and I like that idea. You can wear these little Tibetan prayer wheels around your neck. They make some beautiful ones out of wood that are also bearing, and that they're really expensive. Now, they're not made for the typical Nepali or Tibetan living there. They're made for us, Westerners, who will spend the money on them. They're like $500, $600, $700, and they have in them microfish, not fish, that would be ridiculous, but micro, not very tiny fish, but microfilm. And they have like hundreds of thousands or millions. So there, every time you spin it around, and they make some that have CDs. And on the CD disc is Om Mani Padme Hum, tens of millions of times. And it's like, wait a minute. Do we really, is it that? But anyway, so there are also many ways to do this. One of my favorites was a very simple one that I saw on a special, a documentary, which was someone in Tibet had taken a prayer wheel of some sort, like a coffee can or something, and it was around the side of that, the outside of it, and they had taken pie plates and made them kind of like one of these, an anemometer, and yeah, it's okay. Right. And they had, yeah, you're wondering why. Don't worry, don't wonder. I just like these things, and they're very cool. And had it hooked onto the anemometer, and so when the wind blew, it just like crazy made the thing spin. And I always thought that was a great idea. That's using your head and nature. Yeah. Mo has an anemometer on his desk. Yeah, he does. There you are. So anything that you can use. And at one time, it was against the law for monks, or any Tibetan actually, to measure space, time, distance. So, but they figured a way around it. That was to count paces with their malas, which I think is very ingenious. And they would have things on the mala rather than just accounting. These are counter beads, right? And they're what are called boom beads. Maybe it's not pronounced boom. It's spelled bum. I don't like it. Bum. That could be a lot of things, like a hobo type of thing. Or it could be bum, like your rear. Or, it could be, I say boom. I just like that. And they would have like a toothpick hanging down because this would be a possession. And they didn't have a lot of possessions necessarily. A begging bowl, maybe a teacup, who knows. Pardon me. And, but, so the mala was ever present, and you'll find that today. And you would wear the mala, usually with the guru bead at the back. And, so it goes where you go. So it made sense. Always pulls hair out. It would make sense to wear it. And interestingly enough, that is most likely where the love beads came from that the old hippies wore. It was from the spiritual movement that also came along with the whole 60s thing. Specifically, probably, maybe the TM movement with the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and other, some Hinduism, perhaps some Taoism, Buddhism and Hinduism, and the fact that they were wearing their malas, some around their wrists, others around their necks, and beads became very popular. If you look at some of the old footage, you'll see that every now and then someone is wearing a mala. It's not just the beads, man. It's more than that. So it's a fascinating thing. It's you realize that, and it was really kind of a powerful movement, that whole thing. I remember it. I remember when TM came through my hometown. It was a wave, and I wanted to do it. It was $125 for the normal folk, I think, and $75 for students. And I was a student, high school student at the time, and I really, really, really wanted to do it. I wanted to meditate so very badly. And my parents said, no, you can't do this. First of all, they didn't like the idea that much because they didn't know what it was. There was a brochure. A friend of mine did it, and he just loved it. He loved it, loved it, loved it. And a couple of friends of mine did it. They went and did that. And they had some issues. Leave it at that. And I didn't have issues at the time. I just really was always incredibly interested in spirituality and metaphysics and this stuff, and I really wanted to learn TM. And so it was another, boy, I guess it would have been another 30 years or so, over 30 years, until I finally had a TM teacher who sat down and gave me a mantra and so on and so forth. It was good. It was great. I enjoyed it. I taught myself to meditate earlier. Was flabbergasted to realize that I knew what I was doing when I taught myself. Not that much to it. But anyway, malas are excellent tools. I highly suggest malas. They don't have to be this. This is a mala of 108 beads. I'll leave it to you to discover why 108 beads. There are many different reasons why 108 beads. All you have to do is type into your search engine why 108 beads, and you'll get probably 108 different reasons why. Does it matter? Does it really matter? It doesn't. I mean, you look it up. It has to do with many different things. God forms, the forms of demons. I mean, this is Tibetan and Hinduism, and it can be a lot of things. There are some very basic reasons why. None of them are germane to today's discussion. There are some very basic natural reasons why 108 beads. And understand, what I am doing today is not the Tibetan system, although it uses that system, basically. But it's not the system, which I respect completely. Usually to use that system, you're supposed to get the blessing of a teacher, a Rinpoche, a Lama, a monk, someone who has taught you, and say, can I use this? Can I do this? They test you out and say, well, I don't know. Can you? May I? Okay, that's a different question, You remember that, don't you? So how do you do this? Well, you've got the 108 bead. Pardon me. Allergies. We're breaking records here as far as weather. Breaking records. Oh, I lost that little piece of string that I tied around here. That's what's weird about this. I need to, pardon me, put another piece of string around the top. Yeah. Looks like his hair is parted in the middle there. Nothing bad about that. So what you do is, and I think you could probably use any beads. They say you have to use 108 beads mala, and I don't think you do. Now, most of you probably have some sort of mala or bead. But what I used it for was this. Let me tell you what I used it for, first of all. Well, let me tell you what the Tibetan system is. The basic concept was to use it to answer some questions and to say, okay, I need to consult the Mala, show how they would say it. And so what you would do is you would say, okay, I'm going to do consult Manjushri. And you would imagine Manjushri sitting in a cloud, yellow-skinned, and with the flaming sword and the lotus behind his ear. And you would Om Ya Dharma Hatababatun Tekin Tatagato Hayatakin Shadarode Imari Mahashimana Soha. Om Ya Dharma Hatababatun. And you would do an entire round, right? And then what you do is you would say, okay, thinking about your question. And at a certain point, as you're running, and I did it with my left hand because I'm right-handed. And I would handle the cards with the right hand. and I would shuffle, 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 deal out cards or turn over cards, whatever I was doing, and then back with the card with this. And I found that it grounded me. It grounded me. It kept me listening. I didn't daydream, thinking about, boy, this person I'm reading for reminds me of Howdy Doody, or whatever. I'm kidding, but that sort of, it really kept me tuned in. And like I said, I'm hearing I'm hearing Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, and in an echo. It was fascinating, and people used to call them my magic beads, and that's very kind and very sweet. They used to be incredibly shiny. They're not as shiny anymore because I don't use them several times a day, every day. Well, 5 days a week at least. And I grew very addicted to them. Sometimes I'd take them out at night and use them while I was watching television or something, and repetitive motion issues with my hand and fidget. I'm a fidgeter. I like to, whatever. So then what you do is at a certain point in your question, you simply stop and you take the other hand and you grab the mala. And then what you do, and don't worry if you forget this, you can look it up. All right. Just put in Mo, mala, and Tibetan Mo, mala. And you'll find something about it. It's not overly written about. As a matter of fact, when I discovered it, I had to go to a library. Actually, I found it through something else because I was looking up some other things about Tibetan mysticism and found this and thought, oh, I think I'm going to do this. And then what you do is you go inward with your fingers here, with your hands by threes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, and 3. Now, I didn't have any left. Now, I consider that 3. Okay? That's just 0, so I consider it 3. In most things, like I Ching and so on, when you're counting and you're trying to find a trigram, if you get 0, it's 8. So that's just how I choose that. So you're looking to get 1 or 2 or 3. So you can either get a 1, or 2, or 3. Okay? A 1 or 2 or 3. Okay? And so a 1 is known as a falcon. Pretty good. The falcon is very, very good. And that means traditionally it's things are going well. You're being blessed. The deities are blessing you. It's good for a lawsuit. Pretty good health, that sort of thing. That's excellent. And you're going to do this 3 times. If you pull it the first time, yay, whatever you're asking is going to go well. The second time, if you get a falcon, then things are going excellently, I can't remember specifics. It's like business. Business will go well. Yeah, that's good too. The third time you do it, it means that you may have surprise visitors coming any minute now. So clean up the house, get ready, and things will go pretty well. They're going to be healthy and they're not going to bring you a disease and that sort of thing. And I'm really paraphrasing. You can look this up if you want to know more specifics of it. And there aren't that many specifics. And that's because everyone probably had their own way of doing it. Okay? It's not something that was generally taught outside of a monastery or outside of a particular system. Remember that. So the second one would be 2, and that was Raven. And Raven, I know you're in the room. please don't take this personally. I happen to love ravens, as you know. I'm a big fan of the Pacific Northwest, the First Nations mythologies about Raven, who brought light to humanity, who stole the sun from this feller who had it locked up and had to steal the sun so that we could have it. And Raven is clever and mischievous and is remarkably important to good things happening. So there is a great deal of positivity there. So, but in that case, the first time it's no worry, oh good, but it's that things are not favored the first time. Oh, that's no good. Lawsuits won't go well. The second time, it's just saying that businesses probably will not be good. And the third time, it means that your visitors are not going to, they're going to be, something's going to happen. They're going to be late. They may not show up at all. Bad. They may, end up getting robbed. I mean, it's just not good for them. And then the snow lion, Pamela, it's okay. Yeah. And the snow lion is with three beads. And the snow lion is kind of, things may be a little bit late, although it's okay. Things are okay, but just not as great as, that was a hair. It's a piece of yarn here, or thread. And the second time, it means that, it's going okay, but it's not 100% as good as it could be. And the third time you do it, it's saying that the people will show up, but they're being, they're going to be, tardy. They're being held up somewhere, not literally, but that they will show up. It's just going to be, a matter of time, but they'll be okay. And things are going to work out, but it's not great, so back and forth. So you can see that that's how it's used there. But their worlds are very different than ours. Very different lives. They don't go through the same types of problems that we have. At least they didn't. They might now. I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt that they have the same types of world that we have. So what I realized, I thought, well, as I'm doing readings, there were times when, I don't know if you've had this experience, but there are times when you're doing a reading and the cards will talk to you. My cards talk to me, especially since I created my own cards. They have a tendency to speak to me. And they'll say something like, Mo, this person is not on the level. This person is not telling you the whole truth. And I'll say, oh, really? So I'll do a quick one of these, and I had a real kind of a quick way of doing it, where I would just, because I could do it with, thumb, middle finger, index finger, thumb, middle finger, and come out, oh, and there's Raven. And I'd say, oh, they're lying to me about something. And then delve into that a little bit further. And I had my own basic concept of the things that I wanted to know. And when I got Falcon, one bead, it meant, okay, things are going pretty well, either in the reading or for them, or I would ask a question. And one meant yes, for sure. Two meant no. And three meant you got to go deeper, man. You have to go in there. And so let's talk about that a little bit. So for example, let's see here. Let's do a few of these. And it may not work for you. I loved it. And mainly because I fidgeted with these beads the entire time. I fidgeted with other stuff too. I've always been a fidgeter. I used to get in a lot of trouble in school. I got things taken away from me all the time in grade school. And sometimes I never got them back, I wonder if that's how my dad's fountain pen got. I always thought I lost it. I think I got it taken away. And it was such a nice pen. It was given to him by his father when he turned 21. It was a Parker. I think it was probably, today would probably, I would never get rid of it, but it would probably fund my retirement. But anyway, it was a great pen. Oh, it was a great pen. I was too young to have it at the time, but so here's for example, let's say, oh, is there a potential for peace in the world? That's a silly question to ask a mala, but we'll just do that. And I'm just going to start here, random, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and when you can't go any further, without, and then what I get is 2, and that's Raven. Okay, so that would be my answer, and the answer is kind of probably nah, not so much. And I would, and doing a reading, because people would say things to me like all the time, like, oh God, he was terrible. He's the entire reason for this divorce. And I did everything perfectly right. And I would say, oh, okay. Now, here's the thing. I believe in keeping myself honest. So I might ask the cards while I'm doing a reading. I would just cut and say, was she faultless in all of this? And I would get the priestess reversed. And I'd realize, and the priestess is pure and completely blameless. She's absolutely, whatever. And that says no. And I would say, okay, how about the guy? And I'm not going to cut another card. I'm thinking, tell me about the guy. And I would just, I'm not talking, because I had a finger thing I did. Like I said, it was just, a way of doing it that was not at all, and I could do it like this very quickly. And I would look down and I would say, oh, was he as bad as she's saying? And I get 2, which is Raven. It just says no, that he wasn't as bad as she's saying. And so then I could, just idly cut a card or do this again to say, well, what was his problem? And I could do this again, and it just looks like I'm fiddling, but what I'm doing is I'm listening to I'm talking, and I get Falcon. And I get that right away. And what I get from that is that he was in another relationship. You have to ask how. Well, I get that because what I see is his flying away. That's the image I got. And falcons are beautiful, and so this is kind of what I see there when and that's from a true thing that happened. It's interesting that I got that again. So what you're doing is you're having a conversation. Now, I had the ability to have a conversation with somebody while I was doing a reading, and have a conversation with the mala, and have a conversation with the cards at the same time. Why? Because I'm trying to help somebody. I think if I wasn't trying to help someone, I wouldn't be able to do a coloring book. But it's important because you're really literally trying to help somebody, and so it works out pretty well. I'll show you quickly the finger thing I'm talking about. What I would do is just slide the thumb, then the index finger, and then the middle finger. So it's just thumb, index, middle. And it's just very smooth. It's just a very, that's all there is to it. And you have to practice it a little bit, but there's really nothing to it. And it becomes very intuitive. And all you're doing is just moving 3, that's all you're doing. But you're not thinking about it. It's just a motion that you do. And when you basically come to a point where you stop and there's 1, or you stop and there's 3, or you stop and your fingers are touching, which means it was, the snow lion. And so this takes some practice, but you should try this. It may not do anything for you, but remember, if you have 1, it's an emphatic good thing, right? It's a yes. And you start off with yes or no questions. So we might ask, I saw gas at $4, $3.99. $3.99 a gallon today. Is gas going to come down a great deal? I'm just going to a great deal soon. So let's do just see what we got. I'm hoping. What do you think? 3. Snow Lion, 3. So that would be maybe. So maybe. What's a long time? So it's going to take a while. So it's not going to come down soon, but it will come down, right? So it's going to, what's soon? You see, that's my problem. I wasn't specific enough. So I'll ask the cards the same thing, okay? Exact same question. Is going to come down soon. 8 of Cups. Indolence, right? It's laziness. The cups are empty. So it's saying, where's the gas? 8 empty cups. There was a glut before. That's for me, the 8 of Cups is the day after, the morning after. The guy was drunk out of his mind the night before. He drank all that whiskey, and the next day he's like, I'm never going to drink again. But the emphasis here is there's nothing there. It's going to take a while. It's going to be some time before he can. So it's going to be a little while, but it's going to come. Okay? Does that make sense? Am I making sense? I don't know. Taking suggestions. All right. So, yes or no question. Real world issue. Let's not ask anything too dire, because I don't necessarily want to ask a question that'll have us all feeling really miserable. Will the next year alleviate some of the craziness that's going on in the world? So we just going toward the center, going toward the center. Going toward the center. Going toward the center. Okay. No, I don't want to look at it. Raven. We're just saying no. So it's still going to be crazy. Still going to be crazy. So how do we personally deal with it? That's not a good question to ask. Will we be okay? That's a stupid question to ask. I know we'll be okay. So I'll ask the cards. Okay? So it's still going to be crazy. So how do we deal with it, cards? Queen of Discs reversed, right? Queen of Discs reversed. Oh, God, Raven. What a question. Queen of Discs reversed. Don't try and fix it all. Okay. Is Jim Carrey cloned? Let's ask if Jim Carrey is cloned. That's Raven's question. Is Jim Carrey cloned? All right. Now I've got to say, there is a way. If you're watching this show in the rerun, make sure you click on the thing that says you can watch the chat. It's well worth it. Is Jim Carrey cloned? All right, let's ask this. Is Jim Carrey cloned? Is Jim Carrey cloned? Not going to answer your question. Snowline. Snowline. It's not going to answer it. Okay? That's like the 8-ball. Check back later. I never heard that. Are there some people who think he is, Raven? Let's see. Tell me about Jim Carrey. People are saying he's cloned, I guess. Let's see what we have here. See, this would say, my hermit would say that there is only one Jim Carrey. See, the hermit card says that. Do you see that, though? That it's the hermit card? One of him. Okay? But maybe, I mean, who am I to say he's not cloned? Who knows? See? Oh, Raven says, oh, yes. Raven, do you believe he's cloned? I'm guessing you do from that. Now, there's some people I believe could be cloned and maybe should be cloned, you know. Pardon me. I need to start putting bourbon or something in this. I don't drink, but if I did, I mean, obviously I drank or I'd be dead, you know. I don't drink alcohol. All right, let's see. I mean, it's this fascinating system. Try it out. Give it a shot. What I like about it is you really don't have any control over it. His imposter showed up at an event in France, and it was, let's see, and it was not him. A famous remote viewer did a video on him saying he has crossed over. Oh, okay. All right, Audra. Well, there are imposters. I mean, there are certainly imposters. Yeah, and a famous remote viewer. I know remote viewers. I actually know a couple of famous remote viewers who worked with Stanford Research Institute. You saw that remote viewer in person or on a YouTube? Yeah, I know a couple of famous Stanford Research Institute remote viewers who worked with the famous remote viewer, worked with the CIA. I can say no more because I don't know anymore. That's the only reason. God, that's just fascinating. So they say that Jim Carrey has died. Oh, this is interesting stuff. Out of my league, above my, I don't get paid for any of this. So definitely above my pay grade. He got whacked for speaking out about the corruption in Hollywood. I would think that would be easy to do, speak about the corruption in Hollywood, with Harvey Weinstein and almost everybody else. Apparently this has been, you know that Cecil B. DeMille started Hollywood with a friend of his, and apparently he was pretty... Anyway, let's stop talking about that particular... Oh, I'm not going to go anywhere near that, Audra. Okay? That's not... No. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. I'm not going anywhere near that. No, but bless you, though. I had never even heard the name until he became very famous overnight. I knew nothing about him. So, no, not my desire today. We're talking about malas. Oh, great honk. Oh, no, the chat room is going wild. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's just, I'm not going to touch any of it. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know why they would do that. If you're watching this, you should click on the watch. I want to see the chat room, because you're going to know why I'm going, no, not for me. Thank you. I'll pass on this round. My life is complicated enough as it is. So, the show is almost over. And let me take this right there. Here. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1. Yes. And that is a Falcon, which means I had a good time, and I hope you had a good time too. It's very simple, and you have to make it yours. Once again, I mean absolutely no disrespect to the Tibetan system, which is its own thing, and I consider to be a remarkable tool in the right hands. And but this is just something else, and you can use it, and you should use it, right? Audra says, suffice to say, things are not what they seem. Isn't that the truth? Yeah. Yeah. As the great Thomas Fat Swaller said, one never knows, do one? Right? Okay, so that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah. And just know, I love you. And Renee, if it doesn't have 108, so what? You just do it. It doesn't have to have 108, I don't think. All right? All right. I love you all. And I'll be back next week unless I become so insignificant that I just fade away into a big Paisley. Until later, I wish you all peace, and I wish you all love. And I will talk to you later, all right? And have fun, okay? Do have fun. It's not, is it worth doing it if it isn't fun? I don't think so. Bye-bye. Until next we meet, I'll be waiting for you right here in the Paisley Penny Arcade.